The Kenya Institute for Public Policy Research and Analysis, KIPPRA, is celebrating 25 years since its establishment in 1997. KIPPRA is a state corporation under the National Treasury and Planning, and its mandate is to provide quality public policy advice to the government of Kenya by conducting objective research and analysis and through capacity building to contribute to the achievement of national development goals.
In early 1990s, as the government embarked on public sector reforms, a key agenda was to strengthen the public policy making process. More importantly, there was need to build human and institutional capacities in government to support the policy formulation process.
It became imperative to establish a public policy think tank that would promote continuous economic and social research in supporting the public policy process.
The Presidential Commission on Employment in 1991 observed that in newly industrialized economies, they had established mechanisms such as national research institutes, think tanks, advisory councils, which were critical of playing a major role in promoting public policy research and analysis, in generating evidence to help the government even anticipate emerging policy problems.
It's really important to have an independent institution, an independent think tank that can really look at the evidence from a sort of unbiased point of view and give detailed advice and quality advice. So we really think the role of KIPPRA is really important, and we're very happy to be able to be part of the celebrations of the 25th year.
ARC also supports national think tanks. We call them national think tanks because there are so many think tanks, but national think tanks are those that are formed by African governments with the sole purpose of being, should I say, analytical, to provide evidence-based policy making for governments.
Specifically, KIPPRA was expected to build human and institutional capacity in government to support the policy formulation process. The Presidential Commission on Employment in 1991, which recommended the establishment of a public policy think tank affiliated to government, observed that many newly industrialized economies had established such national research institutes.
So in 1997, KIPPRA was established through a legal notice, notice number 56, and it opened its doors officially in June 1999.
I think I was the third person to be hired in KIPPRA. Perhaps I was the only worker that was hired first in 1999, in July 1999. I accepted the position in KIPPRA, and of course, the issues behind it are interesting, but the chairman of KIPPRA board was also my vice chancellor at the University of Nairobi, so it means that it was like an order. I was given some marching orders to join KIPPRA.
June ndio nilianza kuwa driver wa Kenya Institute for Public Policy Research and Analysis until to date. Kwa hiyo miaka yote nimeona tukiendelea kukua, tumekuwa na several directors, more than 3-4. KIPPRA tunaenda kucelebrate miaka 25. Na hiyo miaka 25 yote nimekuwa KIPPRA na I'm about to retire.
In January 2007, the president signed the KIPPRA bill into law.
I do recall when the KIPPRA Act went to Parliament, a number of us were in the chambers to listen to the discussions, establishing the KIPPRA as a government think tank. And members of Parliament were very enthusiastic that we have this kind of institution. Obviously, most of them had already interacted with KIPPRA.
The Act itemizes 12 functions that the Institute is expected to perform, and they can be summarized into three. One, capacity building. Secondly, public policy research and analysis. And the third one is networking and engagement.
The Institute is mandated to develop capacities in public policy research and analysis and assist the government in the process of policy formulation and implementation.
The board of KIPPRA has various roles and mandates, but generally speaking, KIPPRA board has a role of providing policy guidelines and strategic oversight of the activities of the KIPPRA as an institute.
At KIPPRA, I'm currently the chair of the HR committee, which is implementing responsibilities delegated by the board. First of all, ensure the implementation of the HR policy, career guidelines, and strategy for the institute.
Our main activity or mandate as a board audit committee is to give oversight to the established institutional governance processes, risk management issues, as well as any issue that comes from other partners where there's a need to offer audit professionalism. Going into the future, the Board Audit Committee must ensure it embraces issues that are cross-cutting, that are coming from within and outside the Institute.
One of the key responsibilities this particular board has undertaken, this board committee has undertaken, is to be able to work closely with the executive committee to increase the financial sustainability of KIPPRA in terms of resource mobilization, both from within the government quarters and without.
The work of a board takes place within the committees. The committees really did a good job. They worked very hard, and so were able to generate a lot of information and then also resolve a lot of issues and even just chart new paths. So I would count our very first success as a board as having been able to work on the in-tray at KIPPRA when we arrived, because there were quite a number of things that needed to be done. So we quickly put ourselves, put our best feet forward in our respective committees and together as a board, and then we were able to push these agendas that were in the in-tray and reach a place where at least the institution could be able to function. Something else that took place during my tenure at KIPPRA, for which I am glad that I can be proud of together with the board as well as staff, was we're able to deal with over 20 relevant policies. As you're aware, government institutions and organizations are governed by policies, and so we're able to deal with or to generate or develop policies in over 20 areas. And something else, of course, that we are proud of as a board to have been able to do is to increase and expand the staff establishment. One thing I have no doubt of is that with the board that came after I left the KIPPRA board, I believe that one of the things that board would need to continue to do is to enhance and increase the staff establishment.
Right now we are going to be able to increase our staffing level from 39% to probably up to about 70%, because we are going to employ about 36 new staff, but we are not stopping there.
To build capacity for public policy making in Kenya, the Institute in 2003 established its flagship capacity building program, the Young Professionals Program, which has so far graduated 217 young professionals who are serving in various arms of government and in the private sector.
I joined the Young Professionals Program in 2010-2011 year, and the recruitment was was on merit. We joined, and one of the things which really was a game changer in my career is being taught how to carry out analysis, how to understand matters of public policy, how to, develop public policy, and how also to carry out in-depth research on various issues, especially within the subject of macroeconomic development.
I was a young professional at KIPPRA in the year 2010-2011. I also got an opportunity to work on a 5-year project called the Youth Save project. The aim of the Youth Save project was to design savings product for youth so that they're able to engage in saving behavior early in their lives.
Every year, the Institute has been training on average 10 such young professionals, and the number has increased to 30 since 2021 to accommodate the county governments. Under its mandate to build human and institutional capacities for public policy making, the Institute has developed various tools to support economic forecasting and policy analysis.
In ensuring that we are building both human and institutional capacities, the Institute has developed various tools to support in economic forecasting as well as policy analysis. And this includes the KIPPRA Treasury Macro Model, popularly known as KTMM. Recently, we have also come up with 2 other tools. One of them is the Public Affairs Index, as well as the County Business Environment for Micro and Small Enterprises. All these tools are meant to help us not only do economic forecasting, but also to fulfill the mandate of monitoring progress in economic policies and bringing out any emerging policy issue.
Among the outputs of the Institute is the flagship Kenya Economic Report, which has been published since 2009.
The first Kenya Economic Report was launched in 2009 in a very colorful ceremony attended by many government officers, development partners. The Institute has continued producing the Kenya Economic Report non-stop since 2009, and we are now preparing to produce the Kenya Economic Report 2022.
The Institute works closely with the government and has supported development of various development blueprints. Since its establishment, the Institute has provided technical capacity in developing various long-term economic blueprints, such as the Poverty Reduction Strategy Papers, the Economic Recovery for Wealth and Employment Creation.
In our act, we are expected to provide advisory and technical services to the government, and this we do by participating in working groups and also task forces. You'll notice the staff every year participating in more than 30 working groups, and through this we are able to continue in building the human capacities as a key mandate of the Institute.
We also want to say that another law that we also played in the National ICT Advisory Committee was to come up with various policy advice through policy briefs. So we formulated a number of policy briefs. One, covering how we can be able to improve our e-commerce, how we can also be able to improve our e-learning, because these are critical platforms for fighting or for building resilience during the COVID-19. We also formulated some policy briefs that are touched on how we can be able to increase efficiency of the fund, the Universal Service Fund. This is a special fund created to support the connectivity, broaden the connectivity to the served and unserved areas of this country.
In undertaking our research and policy analysis work, I have represented the Institute in various task forces, starting from the free primary education in 2004, the free day secondary education task force in 2008, the revision of secondary education school fees guidelines, which were implemented in 2008 and revised in 2014. Later on in 2014, I also represented the Institute in the task force on aligning education and training to the Constitution 2010.
Recently, the Institute has worked with counties to develop post-COVID-19 socio-economic re-engineering recovery strategies for all the 47 counties in Kenya.
We have also launched the KIPPRA Public Policy Repository, which houses a significant number of policy documents. The idea is to have a one-stop shop where you can get all policy documents for both the national government as well as the county government. In addition, you'll find all KIPPRA publications in that repository.
We have expanded the types of information sources in the library to not only include policy reports, but also international journals, peer-reviewed journals. And going forward, KIPPRA is also coming up with a journal that will open up more opportunities for not only its researchers, but other researchers to publish in a peer-reviewed journal.
Through its mandate of networking and partnerships, KIPPRA has brought together stakeholders in public policy process through various events and fora. The Institute is currently hosting the Kenya Think Tanks Forum, which was launched in 2019 to provide a forum for sharing ideas among think tanks in Kenya and to forge a common front in influencing policymaking and implementation.
KIPPRA embraces networking with various institutions, and for that reason we work closely with institutions both at local, regional and international level. Currently we are working, for example, with Brookings institutions on urban development study. We are also working with the UN WIDER in putting together a book on savings, how we can actually promote or enhance savings behavior in the continent, but also in Kenya. We are also working with the Africa Economic Research Consortium on human capital development study, and also the partnerships for economic policy on youth employment issues. We have signed various MOUs, for example, with a think tank in India, the research and information systems for developing countries, and also with the Botswana Institute for Development Policy Analysis.
KIPPRA will expand and strengthen strategic networks and partnerships. That is to bring more people on board to support KIPPRA's activities, and this will help KIPPRA overall realize its mandate.
In addition to the government, the Institute has since inception received funding and grants from, among others, the European Union, African Capacity Building Foundation, International Development Research Center, United States Agency for International Development, UNICEF, the World Bank, among others.
In terms of the European Union partnership with KIPPRA, we've had many programs over the years. We've had a lot of different projects in a lot of different sectors. Maybe I can speak about a couple of examples of the European Union partnership with KIPPRA. So one ongoing program that we have with the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics and with KIPPRA is called the Nutrition Information Platforms. NIPIN we call it, National Information Platforms for Nutrition. And the point of this is that, of course, nutrition is a key issue for any country to ensure that the population's nutrition levels are improving, and nutrition affects all sectors of the population actually. But the role of KIPPRA is to make sure that the nutrition information is translated into policy advice.
In 2018, the Institute launched the KIPPRA Mentorship Program for universities, which is meant to engage or strengthen the relationship between KIPPRA and the academia and stimulate critical thinking and policy analysis among the university community. The Institute has hosted 12 events in 12 public and private universities in Kenya. KIPPRA has also hosted an annual regional conference since 2018 in its endeavor to serve as a point of communication and encourage the exchange of views between the government, the private sector, and other bodies or agencies of the government on matters relating to public policy, research, and analysis. KIPPRA has given back to the community through various programs under its Corporate Social Responsibility Program. Such programs include equipping of learners with disabilities with assistive devices, continuous support of persons living with disabilities through inclusion in the Institute's various activities, tree planting in various parts of the country to mitigate climate change, among others.
25 years is a wonderful moment to be able to reflect on the genesis of an organization, be able to take stock of its performance, be able to determine what role has it played. So I celebrate KIPPRA for the 25-year mark that it has attained. I celebrate past chairpersons of KIPPRA, past CEOs of KIPPRA, past members of staff of KIPPRA who've actually participated in actually making the building blocks of KIPPRA.
As an institution, we want to ensure that we are not only the best in this region, but among the best in the world.